Watch the entire video, my lovely viewers, to get the whole thing. Without wasting much of your time, let's get right into it.
This is DJ Mutati exclusive.
Hi lovely viewers, it's me again, your one and only Mutati Mpundu. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time on my channel, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting the subscribe button down below. Turn the bell icon to join the notification squad. Don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think about this video in the comment section below. I'll be super glad to hear from you lovely viewers.
It's important that we discuss this matter, we come to a conclusion, and we agree on what necessarily has to be done as to what amounts to a dignified send-off. The definition is not necessarily that which the government thinks is the case, but the wishes of the family, the wishes of the deceased ought to be taken into account. And that is what was hoped to be achieved, and that is what is still being hoped to be achieved. But we have seen that there have been these clandestine moves, all aimed at access to the body. You may be aware that right from the start, the president did say that he was aware that the President Edgar Chagwa Lungu died even before Tarsila announced that he had died. And now you have all this propaganda machinery of the government and of the UPND coming in and saying, no, President Lungu is not dead. President Lungu was poisoned. President Lungu bought 150 vehicles in Johannesburg. He bought a house. President Lungu was a drug dealer. You have all these issues that are being propagated by the machinery that belongs to the ruling party. And the family, in most cases, has sat back and done little about that. We, on several occasions, that all things be stopped. At some point, we saw that they prevail over outlets like Koswe, and they stopped for some time. And after some time again, we saw them begin again, meaning that at any given time, they had control over who said what they said, the insults that were propagated against the widow, the insults that were propagated against the family. All those are there for public record. And the persons that were saying this were aligned to the government, or indeed in the government, as we saw in one incident where one member was suspended. We saw all that. But at this particular point, we're saying we have appointed mediators. There's a mediator appointed by the government. There's a mediator appointed by the family. And these two are to sit down and help the family and the government come to a resolution that both will agree amounts to a dignified send-off. And I did indicate that perhaps what has been at play here is not an issue of what is in the public interest, but possibly an issue of egos. And this is very simple. In my view, it is something that can be concluded even in a day, even in a few minutes, if only people are willing to give up their pride and do what is right by the family. And that will in turn be what is right for the public of Zambia. That is what I have to say as regards that. Yeah.
You had indicated earlier that, for example, you found out that the people that were protesting had obtained a permit in the name of the Republic of Zambia, the so-called progressive forces.
Yes, the progressive forces.
Just speak briefly to that before we...
Okay. So the progressive forces is this NGO that the government of the Republic of Zambia found friendly to use here in South Africa. And the idea was to give an impression that there was a public outcry that President Edgar Chagwa Lungu be buried in Zambia. I must say that right from the start, the idea of the family was that President Edgar Chagwa Lungu should be buried in Zambia. Until after that botched agreement that was there, when the president went on the screen and said, we cannot go on mourning in perpetuity. This must come to an end. We must return to normalcy. And he said all that he said. So the family said, okay, the government seems to want to have nothing to do with this. And to go and force things in Zambia would not amount to a dignified send-off. So we will have a private one. On the day of burial, you saw how that the government swiftly moved in and said, no, it's in the public interest. We'll bring back the national mourning and all those issues that followed thereafter. But through all this, I think the family has chosen to deal with this matter in a very sober way, whereas the government chose to go in a very combative way, engage progressive forces movement, such that even when they went to court, they needed that aspect to say there's a public outcry. How do they engineer that? There was no Zambian here who was going to go and picket for and on behalf of the government because they knew exactly what was going on. So they had to get this South African movement paid for them to have a conference at Gallagher Center, where, well, at some venue, you may have seen it, where some people purporting to be representing this particular movement spoke out, talking about the desirability to bury this particular foreigner in their country, otherwise the land would be cursed. There was all that talk that was there. This very organization picketed at the Pretoria court, having gotten a permit right there in Pretoria, facilitated by the Zambian government and in the name of the Zambian government for purposes of picketing at the courts. We saw all that happen, but the family chose to be quiet about it and concentrate on what was important, what would amount to a dignified send-off. And that is the same organization that the government is using yet again. You may have noted that on the 23rd, this private investigator engaged by the government goes to the morgue, purports that he, together with the police that were accompanying this private investigator, purports that there was a report by a family member that President Chagwalungu had been poisoned. On that particular day, the family was contacted. We spoke to the people at the morgue. Was the police and the investigator were present? We said that there's no one from the family that has reported anything of that sort. We have been here the last 4 months. There hasn't been anything of that sort. And we know the circumstances. And these circumstances were made available to the government. All the documentation that related to the death of President Lungu was made available to the government. Thereafter, they refused to speak to the family. They said, we are going to have a meeting with the management of the morgue. They went to the headquarters. The minutes were published. And we did indicate in those minutes who was in attendance, the role that they played, and how that the private investigator said they had been engaged by the government of the Republic of Zambia. We also indicated that we engaged the Secretary to the Cabinet as regards that particular issue. At first declined that government had no role whatsoever, and we pushed to say, okay, if government had no role whatsoever, give us something in writing to give to the morgue. So that whoever comes, we tell them, there's no one that has reported this matter. There's actually no docket of case whatsoever. That's on the 23rd, when things happened, that's the 23rd of September rather. And they said they were going to return. The time they were having the meeting with the management of the morgue, they said, this person, we have gotten reports from social media that there are allegations of him having been poisoned. Now we change from a family member, moves to social media. At that particular time, we were not aware of any reports. On the 29th of September, we see this organization that protested at the Pretoria court come back now and hand in a report to the police to say, we suspect that this person was poisoned, and the allegations that he was poisoned, and we want to clear the name of South Africa. That is what was, but there's no complaint for and on behalf of the government of South Africa. There hasn't been any complaint whatsoever. So we see that all these moves being orchestrated by the government were intended to frustrate this particular process. We can only speculate as to what the benefit is, but it all goes down to erode the trust that the family was hoping to build in the government. So that is that. I wouldn't want us to spend so much time on this particular issue. Safe to say that we need to be humane in our approach to things now that we are commemorating our independence. We need to reflect on why we got this independence, how we ought to treat each other, what is Ubuntu in this particular context as we deal with each other in government, whether one is holding a position or is not holding a position. The rich and the poor, how we treat each other is very important. Ambassador, I would spend a whole lot of time discussing this matter, but
Yeah,
I think
thank you.
the public
Thank you,
has
Honorable
been
Makebi Zulu.
up to speed on what's happening. Yeah.
Today we'll not dwell much because, want to reflect on Zambia. But one of the key issues your political opponents, the political opponents of the PF, have accused the PF and, sometimes even to you, the spokesperson, is that we are using this matter, for politics. What do you say to that before we move on to the reason we are here?
Who took the matter to court? That's the issue. If the family had not been taken to court, we wouldn't be where we are. So what politics are being played? The facts leading to the impasse were known. The mistrust that was built is known. The ones that are on the wrong side are known. It has never been the family. It is not the family. It will never be the family. Let us, in the same manner that the president said, let's pray for the family, I would say, let's pray for the government, for reason to prevail over ego. And we will resolve this matter in the nick of time.
Oh, wonderful. There's someone who said, Emmanuel, you are very informed. Someone calling from London. And how come you didn't ask Honorable Makebi Zulu if he's standing? Well, I brought him here to reflect on the Zambia's 61st independence anniversary. And I'm yet to see his official statement, whether he's standing, but he can use this opportunity to discuss this matter.
Very interesting questions indeed, and I think I will approach them in no particular order of importance, as it were, but perhaps the issues that relate to the role that I'm playing here in South Africa, I'd like to deal with those, get them out of the way, then deal with the matters that have arisen. Linda Banks asks a very important question, and that is, should HH recuse himself from this process? Would the family be willing to bury in Zambia? That has been the position. If today the president said, I will not be in attendance, I will hand over to the vice president and we'll give him his full honors, and tomorrow we start off to come to Zambia. It is that simple. It is that simple. And that's why we're saying, let us pray for the government so that reason prevails over self or indeed over ego. To indeed respect the wishes of the family and do away with this whole thing. Because just this niggling issue is the one that has led to all this propaganda, all this false news that has been propagated against the family. And it ought not to be that way. We have to respect the widow. We have to respect the family. And there's a question that was asked by Falcon that there are threats that I will be arrested if I return to Zambia. There is no offense that has been committed either by myself or any member of the family that is worth any person being arrested for. As a matter of fact, even assuming that there was, it is only prudent to go back home and face those challenges that are there. And no one is afraid to face challenges. If we have breached the law, let us deal with the law as it is. So no one is afraid. But it is this thing that we keep talking about to say, let's stick to truth. And for our purposes, as persons that are here in South Africa, seeking only to have a dignified burial for ECL, we will protect that wish, even if it takes any one of us going to prison, even if it takes me going to prison as spokesperson for wanting to honor the wishes of ECL or the family, will gladly do so if it amounts to an offense. But I can guarantee you that no offense has been committed. Zambia is our home. we are coming back home. Whatever the plans may be, we are still coming home to face things for what they are. Because we know that we are protected by the law. Even if institutions of governance may not want to rely on the law, we will still come and know that we are protected by the law. And, well, if they do anything wrong, Zambians will judge for themselves. They'll be able to judge. But know that we're not afraid to come home, and we are not coming home. We are not staying away from home. We are not afraid of anything that may be planned against us. It is not, and that is exactly what we're saying. We have to assert our freedom. If it can be given to us, we will get it by whatever means necessary. Of course, within the legal limits that we have to. So Falcon, thanks for your concern, but we are good. Falcon, you also asked a question that related to the technical committee as being a formality, and that was the lamentations of Laura Miti. You can't rubber stamp, have them as a rubber stamp. As a matter of fact, true professionals on that committee should be able to say, I can't do this, because you are only asking me to rubber stamp and endorse what exactly you want. And to push for a thing that has already been declared unconstitutional in a manner that is also illegal is in itself misbehavior, for lack of a better term. It's being mischievous, to say the least. Brother Sensual Banda asked the question and provided an answer to say, what recourse do Zambians want to ensure that this is halted in the court of law? That is that is a recourse that the Zambians have, to halt this process by way of going to the Constitutional Court. If we have gotten to a stage where we feel we have lost trust in our institutions and we think we won't get the results that we want, we have yet another opportunity in August, in a very short space of time, to be able to speak and speak loudly as to what we want. If we want a government that is only going to push its interests, or we want a government that is going to push the interests of the people, we will have that decision to make. We are the final arbiters in all this, and that is why the power that is not allocated to anyone in the Constitution is reserved for us, the people. Anonymous asked a very important question to do with load shedding and the repeal of cyber law. We noticed that when the current president was in the opposition, the cyber law that was there then, that was mostly targeted at cyberbullying, and came as a result of the lady who marched because she felt she was being cyberbullied and got a call from President Edgar Chagwa. He took a stand and said, we are going to stop cyberbullying. But now there was a promise to say we'll get rid of it because it was perceived to be gagging people from expressing themselves on social media. And what has happened now? The president failed to answer a question that related to cyber law when he was being asked by that international journalist. And he said, well, these are necessary. Necessary for what? When the laws have only been used to stifle dissent. You don't necessarily have to have people agree with you for you to be able to serve them. You can't have everyone agreeing with you. People will disagree with you. And in the manner that they disagree with you, they may choose an avenue of expressing themselves. And they'll express themselves in a way that they think is most fortunate. And if I were President Hakainde Hichilema, I would allow people to express themselves and express themselves freely in the manner that they wish to. Other countries have those laws. And those that are insulted by their citizens don't die from insults. Insults have never killed anyone. But it is a way of judging the character of the person. A society will judge the character of the person differently if they insult. But it is not for us to be able to criminalize dissent because this person said something that I disagree with, therefore they should go to jail, especially that I'm in a position of power. Power is intended to serve and not to control. There was another question that was by Madam Ngoma. Well, this was a statement saying you must contest as a presidential candidate. Then Mulenga from England says, Is he going to stand for the presidency? And of course, we've got Mr. Kashala asking to say, what qualities do you have? We have a shortage of leaders in Zambia. Okay, I'll try and deal with these as one. There's no shortage of leaders in Zambia. What has been is a proliferation of bad leaders. Not just a proliferation of bad leaders. The politics that we have been experiencing in Zambia have not attracted persons that have qualities that are to lead, because we say politics is a dirty game. Politics is not a dirty game. It's just dirty people come to politics. And when dirty people come to politics, it will take clean people coming to politics to clean it up. So if you are of good qualities, take the stand. Take the stand, come to politics. There are those of you that say, Christian, I'm a Christian, I can't be in politics. You're a Christian, therefore you should be in politics, because politics deserves people that are decent. You say, I'm of this religion, politics is a dirty game. You have a responsibility to save your country and go and take up that particular position and save the country. And Mr. Kashala in Bemba say, so you are able to tell, or you should be able to see who a good leader is. And of course, there are these calls. I've noticed quite a number of calls are bordering on whether or not I'm going to contest the elections. As a matter of fact, it is not an I factor, a we factor. What are we saying? And I'm heeding, I'm listening and hoping to heed to the cause of every Zambian that is there, carrying out consultations, as it were. And it's for that reason that you may have seen from my posting that we said we're going to carry out consultations and talk to different people as regards this very mammoth task, this very solemn duty that each one of us has to take seriously. It is not a matter that one just wakes up and says, I should do this. But the cause so far are seeming very irresistible, but it is something that we have to take solemnly. It is something that one has to take dedicated to prayer. And in all this, we know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And this light, only God makes it available. And we are in that position where there is this call to duty. And to not heed to this call to duty is to disappoint the people of Zambia. Is not to heed to this call to duty is maybe not being able to listen to the voice of God. And the voice of the people is the voice of God. And at an opportune time, we will definitely make this known. But as I have stated, it is not an I factor, it is a we factor. It is something that we all have to sit and decide. Thank you very much, Ambassador. I'm very emotional, I must say. It's been a very humbling program, and I'm at a loss for words. I'm really at a loss for words. Safe to say that every Zambian should know that the law is intended to protect them from any form of tyranny, either in leadership or any form of tyranny. The law is intended to protect them. The law is not intended to make leaders untouchable. The law is intended to enable leaders serve the people. And if President Hakainde Hichilema is listening, I'm hoping that he listened to what the people said. It is not a lack of leadership that is there, but a failure of leadership. And it is upon all of us to step up and be the leader that we promise the people to be the leaders that we are called to be. Because the call to leadership is a godly call, it's a divine call. And to abuse that call to leadership is to dishonor the person that puts you in that particular position. I pray that you may introspect your leadership and honor the the person that gave you that call to leadership. To the many callers and to the Zambians that are out there, we need to stand up for ourselves. It is not right that we should be considering people that speak the truth, a person who speaks the truth, as being brave. Telling the truth is not an act of bravery. That is how we are supposed to be. That is what we are called to be. And in so doing, we will be of service to everyone. This call to duty is a call for everyone. I'll say it again, it's a call for everyone. No one is going to come from outside Zambia to save us. We must save ourselves. We should save ourselves. And we have processes that we have put in place to save ourselves. Let's honor those processes. Even if we're going to choose Queen Pumi and say, Queen Pumi, stand. Let us all rally behind Queen Pumi because that leadership is from God. You have called on me to stand, and I'm saying it is not about me, it is about all of us. And in these consultations, like Father Pombe Oscar Mansa has said, it is a matter of consulting and a matter of everyone coming together. What I hear the Zambians say is that everyone in the opposition come together, let us save our country, because no one else is going to save us. So my call is to Dr. Sangwa. My call is to KBF. My call is to Brian Munduvile. My call is to our acting president, Lubinda. My call is to Kasonde Mwenda. My call is to Chishimba Kambwidi. My call is to every leader of the opposition, every leader within the party, every leader outside the party. Can't we do this one thing for Zambia? Can we come together and unite for Zambia? That is what Edgar Lungu died for. When he was coming back to politics, he said the idea was to unite. When he was part of UKA and part of Tonse, the song that he sang through and through was to unite the opposition for purposes of saving our country. There will be a failure of leadership on the part of the opposition if we do not come together. We need to come together for the sole purpose of saving our country. And duty calls now. This call is not to any one individual. This call is for all of us to come together and deal with the issues that our country is facing. Because only us as Zambians, only we as Zambians can save our country. And like I did say earlier, this is not a we factor. We'll continue to consult. And the very people that I've mentioned here, and others that the clergy, and all those that are informed, are involved in the country, in the running of the country, even you in the diaspora, let's engage in this conversation. Let us make a firm decision and save our country as one. Let us do that, and we will see greater things happen in our country. Your call must be heeded to, and your call will be heeded to. In the meantime, let us concentrate on coming together. Then we shall emerge as one, and this leadership will be a leadership of oneness, for that is what we are, and that is what Zambia is. Thank you very much for hosting me, Ambassador Mamba. Thank you for this opportunity. This has been a very humbling experience, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. The Lungu family is grateful for this opportunity to also speak to the people and let them know exactly what is happening. You have not been neglected as Zambians. You have not been denied an opportunity to bury President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. That will be done, and you will bury President Edgar Chagwa Lungu with the dignity and honor that he deserves. grateful for this opportunity once more. Thank you, Ambassador.
This is DJ Mutati exclusive.
Alright, that's all for you today, lovely viewers. If you did enjoy the video, please don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about the video you just watched in the comment section below. I'll be super glad to hear from you, lovely viewers. Once again, I go by the name of Mutati Mpundu. I love you, peace, I gotta go.